The Book of Mediums, Part 2, Chapter 11, talks about rappings and tiltings, knockings. Alphabetical typtology, which comes from the Greek word to strike, so deciphering knocking sounds. At first, in its infancy, it was restricted to a mere yes or no, and the number of raps were previously agreed upon. So please give us a knock, or the table would knock on the floor, or sometimes there's a knocking on the wall or somewhere unidentified in the air. So we'll say, please give us a knock one time for yes or two for no, for example, or please give us a two for yes, one for no, example. And then the knockings were able to answer questions. After this, it was improved upon by physical possessions or the mediums being able to move the table, which tilts itself up on one side and then falls back down, striking the floor with the foot. The medium only has to place their hands on the edge of the table, but if they wish to communicate with a particular spirit, you must call him, or you will have the first spirit to happen to present themselves, or a spirit who is in the habit of coming. So it may have been agreed that one tilt means no and three tilts means yes. But the answers are very brief. If you ask the spirit, what do you want? They can only answer us to say, enters in a sentence. So therefore you have to ask yes or no questions such as, do you want this? No. Do you want something else? Yes. And then keep going. Then they're saying that there's a quality in the knocks, such of loud force, character in the tilts or raps, sentiments which animate him by violence, abruptness, anger, impatience, by striking hard or repeatedly fast, like one who stamps their foot angrily on the ground or upsets the table. Whereas a polite and kind spirit at the beginning of a seance moves the table as if making a graceful bow. If wanting to address himself to one of the people present, he will push the present towards them gently or roughly. This in the proper speaking is semitology, or the language of signs, as typtology is the language of raps. Here's an example. A gentleman, one day in the drawing room, several people were holding a seance, received a letter from us. When he was reading it, the little table used by him suddenly moved to him. After he read the letter, he went towards another table at the far end of the room and put the table on it. The little table followed him and went up to the table where he had the letter on. Surprised at the occurrence, our friend thought that there must be some connections between the table and the letter, so he asked the spirit about it, and a name was given, which is our familiar spirit. We in turn asked the spirit to tell us why he moved the table, and the answer was, it's natural I should go and see those who are you in communication with, in order that I may, if necessary, give to them as well as to you such advices that may be useful. So it's evident that the spirit wished to attract the attention of the man and sought for the means to manifest his presence. Typtology was improved by adoption of a more extended method of communication, such as designating alphabetical typtology for a letter to a knock. So letters could be make word sentences and longer communications. According to one method, the table makes as many tilts are needed to indicate each letter. So one tilt for A, two tilts for B, etc., while someone writes down the letters indicated. And then when the spirit has finished, then he makes some kind of sign previously agreed upon to indicate the fact. This mode of proceeding is extremely tedious and requires a large amount of time, but there are more other methods that could be abbreviated, such as what I will add that you could see like on a Ouija board. They're talking about having letters, numbers, etc. written on a sheet of paper or a cardboard. The medium at the table will run a pencil or another pointer along the letters, and when the words are wanted along the ciphers, the numbers are wanted. When the pencil reaches a desired letter or a cipher, the table gives a tilt, and then the letter or cipher thus indicated is written down. The person who holds a pencil going through the same operation for the next letter, and so on. If a mistake happens, then the spirit will give notice by tilts, and then the pencil is again taken through the alphabet, which can be a bit quicker. The other application is raps by the wood of the table without any movement. All mediums not equally successful. Some can do tilts, other can do only raps. However, most mediums can have raps, which is not only more rapid, but less open to suspicion than tiltings. It's also true that raps can be imitated by untruthful mediums, which may be counterfeited, which proves nothing against the reality of these occurrences. So it mimics the way of writing, the ease and rapidity of writing. Older methods of tilting and wrapping are now being less used, but still very interesting as a phenomenon, especially for beginners, and has the advantage of being independent of the medium's mind. In order to render spirit communication independent of the medium's mind, various instruments have been devised. One is sort of a dial plate where letters of the alphabet are arranged, and there's a movable needle set in motion. It's kind of like a pendulum, they're kind of describing, with a pulley and a thread to point out the letters. However, thought may also from the medium change this. We know about muscle movement memory in the hand or whatever. Such as a fraud named Madame Emile de Girardin. Um, it was a little table with a movable top, 18 inches around, turned on an axle like a wheel. On its edge are traced letters, numbers, and words yes and no. In the middle is a fixed needle. A medium puts his hands on the table, which turns and stops when the letter is brought under the needle. The top of the table does not turn, but the fingers remain in their place and follow the movement of the table. Typtology is a mean of communication like any other and is no more unworthy of elevated spirits than writing or speaking. They're talking about knocking now in 145, which I think previously Kardec has contradicted himself. Previously, he said that eventually spirits will kind of outgrow the knocking with you as they can communicate more directly. Um, all spirits, good or bad, may use this method. That is true. Um, what characterizes superior spirits is the elevation of their thought, not the instrument they may use. They may no doubt prefer convenience and rapid methods, but in the absence of these, they will willingly employ the table by the fact that some of the grandest communications have been made this way, that they recorded. If we don't use a table, it's because not because we don't like it, but because as a phenomenon, it has given us all that it was able to, so that it can add nothing, while the length of communications we receive have compelled us to do other quicker methods. All spirits who knock, therefore, are not what we call rapping spirits. For it's designed more for spirits who can be styled as professional rappers and who take pleasure in going about amusing some and boring others. Smart things are sometimes said by them, but nothing really ever profound. It would be a loss of time to ask scientific or philosophical questions of ignorant pretenders who are classed by higher spirits as the quacks and mountebanks of the spirit world. They are nevertheless often employed by superior spirits as well as their instruments for the production of physical manifestation. And that ends the chapter and brings us to chapter 12.